My name is Mariana del Castillo, and I was born in Ecuador, South America, surrounded by a creative family. In 1972, my family and I immigrated to Australia, to Canberra. And for the past 40 years, I have primarily lived and worked in the Ngambri Ngunnawal land. Most recently, the landscape and the bush have been my biggest influences. I'm drawn to recycled materials, and I work across sculpture, textiles, printmaking, painting, drawing, animation, and installation. After the 2020 bushfires, I was working with communities in the high country of New South Wales, and I saw firsthand the enormous black hills that stretched out across the horizon. I was deeply moved. I felt compelled to bring the effects of climate change more directly into my art practice. However, I struggled for months to find a visual language that felt uncontrived. It ultimately led me to the Winton wetlands in Yota Yota country. The Winton wetlands history does include the construction and decommissioning of Lake Makawan, with its initial flooding of ancient forests and wetlands, and the planting of thousands of river red gums, some of which were drowned and now a prominent feature on this really extraordinary restored landscape. This monochromatic field of twisted, burnt and bleached figures really affected me deeply. Apparently, for the first time in many years, the catchment was full of water, which was great. It is a struggle to find the right approach when representing such an iconic space. However, I find the process of carving and stitching quite meditative, and ultimately I'm seeking to translate the experience of being in the landscape. I attempt to feel and hear its rhythms, to represent this robust and fragile environment. I have always made 3D constructions. However, this is the first time that I carved in wood. It was very challenging, especially a big piece of wood for the head. I did enjoy the process of carving from one piece of wood. I initially start with the process of monoprinting. This is a very fluid and spontaneous process, and you need to be open to moments of serendipity. I then stitch and create additional marks on the monoprint. I was lucky enough to be able to source a piece of Australian hardwood from a friend's property, and I began to slowly rough out the shape of the head. This was a fairly organic process because I wanted to embrace the sort of initial shape of the log without getting too hung up on creating a direct representation of a human head. I wanted to combine the heavy wood with the light stitching on the monoprint, conveying the fragile and robust nature of the wetlands. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend the opening of this year's Deakin University Contemporary Small Sculpture Award, but received a call on the night which was really overwhelming and quite emotional. I was then put on the phone with the Chancellor, who congratulated me, and we talked a little bit about my work. It certainly gave me a boost to my confidence, and mostly confirmed my commitment to representing the landscape using the human form. My main advice to students pursuing a career in the arts is to always be resilient through the highs and lows. You need to lower your expectations and to be open to constructive criticisms. And always remember, artists are always making art.